Sky Bet League One had some very interesting fixtures over this Easter weekend, most notably Derby versus Portsmouth at Fratton Park. Bolton Wanderers were able to pick up a victory at home versus Reading. Barnsley picked up 3 points, as did Peterborough. Very, very big weekend for those sides at the top of the table. Shall we now get into a look at a full League One review for those promotion battling sides? First off, we'll start with the league table. So we start off here with the league table, and as you can see, Derby and Pompey, the only two in the top 7 to drop points. Obviously, they played each other. Both sides come away from that game delighted with a point. Bolton Wanderers will be delighted with the 3 points they picked up at Reading, as obviously those 3 points bring them closer to Derby County. The gap is now just 4 points. Peterborough United picking up a win as well, keeping that point to Bolton Wanderers at just 4. Barnsley staying on level terms with Peterborough, still 4 points behind Bolton Wanderers with their win. Lincoln City continue their great form. Oxford United obviously continuing their form too, back with a win after a draw a few days ago. They face Burton Albion up next. Shall we take a look into this weekend's fixtures of the Easter weekend? Let's take a look at some numbers, some lineups, and let's see how each game went. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner. Stay subscribed to the channel. Got lots of League One and promotion talking content coming out over the next few weeks as the season draws to a close. So make sure you stick around for all of that. We start off here with Oxford's 4-0 thrashing of Fleetwood Town. They'll be absolutely delighted with that, whereas Fleetwood are going to be absolutely devastated. There's a Fleetwood vlogger called Nappers, I think it is, on Twitter. Obviously, he's now sort of admitted defeat with relegation. Obviously, Fleetwood right down at the bottom of the table. Let's just take a look at both sides. And as you can see, Oxford United do have some very good players with Ruben Rodriguez, Cameron Brannigan, Jacob Murphy, Harris up front. They've got a really good side. And obviously, Fleetwood Town just don't quite have that same capabilities of some of the team in this league. Now, obviously, for Oxford United, it was a massive result, as you can see on the right-hand side with the league table, keeping them on 67 points in 41 games, keeping them on level terms with Lincoln City, who are absolutely flying at the moment. Harris getting a double in this game, obviously massively important for Oxford to keep up their form, to try and get themselves into those playoff places. They are level on terms with Lincoln. And obviously, if we scroll down now just to look at the match momentum, this game was all Oxford United. Is that very surprising for me? I don't think so. I was always expecting Oxford to come away with 3 points in this game. The match momentum graph just shows that Fleetwood did have their moments, but just not enough quality. And if we scroll down here to the main stats that FOTMob show, and obviously 62% possession for Oxford to 38% for Fleetwood, 2.47 XG, absolutely massive. You only have to look. Now, Fleetwood, they're having their shots in all the right areas, but it just shows the difference in quality between the two sides. Obviously, Oxford also had 3 big chances missed, which is obviously not what you want at this level, but they still come away with a 4-0 win. Now, if Fleetwood had just took 1 or 2 of their chances, this game could have turned out massively different. They'll obviously be delighted with the result, though, Oxford. Shall we now get into the next game? So next up is Lincoln City's 3-1 win at Carlisle. Now, Carlisle will have came into this game full of confidence. They beat Peterborough just a few days ago. I think it was 3-1 in that game as well. Absolutely brilliant performance for Carlisle. But in this one, just not quite to the level. And I think this shows why they are where they are in the league table, right at the bottom. Joe Taylor's picked up another goal, with Ben House picking up a goal and an assist as well. Taylor getting an assist as well. And obviously Bishop in the midfield picking up one as well, as we go and look at the two sides. Now, the Carlisle side, I personally think they've already sort of admitted defeat to League Two. But this Lincoln City side just won't give up. They obviously didn't have the greatest start to the season, and that is why they're only in 6th place. But since the turn of the year, I believe they are the second best side in the league. They would be sitting in 2nd place if the league started on January 1st. They've got some really good players like Joe Taylor, Ben House, Bishop in midfield, Hackett out wide. They've got some very good players over at Lincoln, and Skubala will be very delighted with their recent performances. If we just look at this match momentum, though, it wasn't even like all Lincoln City. Carlisle did have their moments and obviously did score a goal, but Lincoln City were just more clinical at the end of the day. If we scroll down now to take a look at the full match stats, you can see here Carlisle had the higher expected goals, they had more percentage of possession, they had more shots, but as you can see, Lincoln City were just a lot more clinical. Now, how long can Lincoln City keep up this form? For me, they've got to keep going right until the end of the season. I think it is very possible for them. Obviously, they're doing well at the moment. I think they've won 9 and 10. It might be a bit different to that, but they are doing superbly well so far. Obviously, picking up 3 goals and 3 points here at Carlisle. Shall we now get into the next game? Now, this is a brilliant game for Peterborough United. They're trying to keep up that push to the top 2. Very difficult ask, if you ask me. They've got to win practically all their games to get above us as Derby County. Leyton Orient will be disappointed with this. Obviously, for me, this defeat sort of puts Leyton Orient out of the chance of playoffs for me. I think they're just a little bit too far back now, especially given the form of Lincoln City recently. But if we just scroll down and look at the two sides, this Peterborough side is just on another level. I think his name's Kiprianu in the midfield. He's an absolutely brilliant player. You also look at that front line of Jade Jones, Poku, Mason Clark. They've got some very good players here at Peterborough United. Edwards at the back has been subject to much Premier League interest. Burrows on the left-hand side as well. He's really, really good. Obviously, at Leyton Orient, Derby are quite well known when it comes to Jordan Brown. He's a very good player, but just not quite at the level in this game. But Leyton Orient won't be disappointed not to get the playoffs this season. They'll be really, really proud of the season they've had, where they've come from and where they've ended up. Absolutely delighted for them to end up in the position they're in right now. Obviously, Richie Wellens might be disappointed that they've dropped off that playoff place. If you look on the right-hand side, they're 9 points behind Lincoln City and Oxford. Really, really tough ask to ask them to win essentially 4 or 5 games to get ahead of those sides, with them sides obviously having to lose as well. Very difficult ask for the sides. But was it all Peterborough? Did Leyton Orient deserve something? Let's take a look at this momentum graph. Now, as you can see, Leyton Orient were probably in a bit more control than Peterborough. But again, it's that clinical nature of Peterborough United. With those quality players scoring 2 early goals to put them 2 up, it sort of put Leyton Orient on the back foot, really. And yes, they got a goal sort of halfway through the second half, but it just wasn't enough to get back into the game. If you look at the expected goals now, Peterborough just create chance after chance after chance. 2.37 XG for Peterborough, 0.74 for Leyton Orient, 19 shots to 11. It just shows the gulf in quality between these two sides. For me, Peterborough United, a lot of their side could step up to the Championship, but are they going to be able to get it done through the playoffs? Because I think that's where they're going to end up. I think it's one of those situations at the minute where, as much as the automatic promotion places are still in touching distance, really, if they win their games in hand, it's not guaranteed that they're going to end up anywhere near it, really. So Leyton Orient realistically resided to another season in League One, and Peterborough still battling it out for those automatic promotion places. Let's now get into the next game. So, Burton Albion faced Barnsley at the Pirelli Stadium, and despite going 1-0 up, Burton Albion fell to a 3-1 defeat. McAtee, absolutely brilliant performance from him, scoring twice. Connell getting the third. Now, I think it speaks volumes about where Burton Albion are at the moment. They've got Patterson in charge, and I do think his job is on the line. Let's just take a look at both the lineups. And I'm not saying that Burton Albion have a brilliant side, but Hugill burst onto the scene at Derby County, scoring that goal after picking it up on the halfway line, but hasn't quite hit the heights since. Mason Bennett going off after 25 minutes with another injury. But you look at the likes of Powell, Hughes, Hamer. They've got some decent players in that Burton Albion side, but just can't quite get a tune out of them. But if you look at that Barnsley side, you've got Russell in midfield. You've got Connell and Cosgrove. You've got that back that back four, obviously Earl joined from Fleetwood in January. They've got a very good side there at Barnsley, and they, just like Peterborough, are pushing for those automatic promotion places. Both 2 games in hand. They could both be within 2 points of Derby County if they win them both, but that also depends on Derby County dropping points when they win. So it's one of those. Let's take a look at the match momentum, and it's like, it realistically, it's all Barnsley. Now, despite an early burst from Burton Albion, it just is all Barnsley. And then Barnsley end up 3-0 up, and then Burton sort of take over. It's a very good result for Barnsley in the scheme of automatic promotion battle, but it's not good for Burton Albion. As you can see on that right-hand side, 40 points from 41 games. Both teams below have a game or 2 games in hand. And for me, Port Vale could get themselves out of that relegation zone. Same with Cheltenham Town. Personally, I think 45 points and above, I think they're probably safe now. Obviously, there's no guarantees, because if Port Vale win both, Cheltenham win both, that puts them on what? Port Vale would be on 45, Cheltenham would be on 44. So obviously those relegation places aren't quite confirmed yet. Fleetwood and Carlisle just a little bit too far behind, in my opinion. I can't see them getting out of the trouble they're in, especially with some of the fixtures they face in the coming weeks. But shall we now get onto the statistics as we just scroll down here, and you can see, look, just Barnsley being a lot more clinical with their chances. A lot more shots in good areas. You look at Burton Albion, seem to be taking some from quite a bit of range, missing a couple of big chances as well. It's just one of those games where Burton Albion just weren't quite at the races. Let's get on to the next game. So, massive result here for Bolton Wanderers. A hat-trick for Collins. Bodvarsson picking up 2. They did concede 2, so that is something which needs to be kept in mind for when they place against the better teams, your likes of Portsmouth and Peterborough, which they still have to face. But Bolton Wanderers will absolutely be delighted with this result. It shuts the gap down to 4 points against Derby County, and that is what they're looking at. They're looking at automatic promotion, and that is where they'll be aiming to be. Obviously, a game in hand on Derby County. Will that be able to put them within a point? We'll have to see at the weekend as they head into Bristol Rovers. I'll have a full League One review out later today. No, tomorrow it'll be out. But obviously this Bolton Wanderers side just doesn't know when to give up. They've had a bit of a struggle in recent weeks, but this 5-2 result will surely put them back on pace. You look at the side at Bolton Wanderers, and it is absolutely brilliant. Bodvarsson, Collins, Thomason, Santos at the back, Toyle, very, very good players. And you even look at their bench, they've got the likes of Cameron Jerome to come off. They've got Morley, Forrester. Like, they've got a really good side there at Bolton. But then, so have Reading. A lot of these Reading players I wouldn't mind having at Derby County. We were interested in Charlie Savage in the January window. Harvey Nibbs is a player that we was after in the summer. Sam Smith. Obviously, Lewis Wing has played for Paul Warne before. Aziz, he was seen having a conversation with Ian Ever after the game. Obviously, potentially a move in the summer for him. But it's just one of those games where Bolton needed the result and got the result. And as you can see by the league table, the 4-point gap. Derby, I don't think, will be disappointed that the gap is down to 4 points, because the next 4 games for them are a lot easier than Bolton's 5. So that's something which we have to keep in mind. Let's take a look at the match momentum, and as you can see, it is all Bolton, really. Bolton went 1 up, Reading levelled terms, and then it was a Bolton penalty just before half-time, which really sort of put Reading to the sword. Reading just couldn't quite get back into the game as they came out for the second half. If we look down at the statistics, 57% possession for Bolton and a 2.73 XG. Obviously, I believe they had 2 penalties, maybe 1 penalty. So it would only be like 1.7, 1.6 or whatever. 1.8, sorry, without the penalty. 18 shots each. But as you can see by the shot map, Bolton Wanderers shots are all within the right areas. There's only 3 shots outside the box, and one of them is a goal. So can't really complain about Bolton Wanderers' chance creation. 9 shots on target out of 18 too. That is absolutely incredible. 50% on target. 4 big chances created. Bolton Wanderers will not be complaining heading into their next fixtures. And now the big one, the important one, the game at Fratton Park. Derby County faced Portsmouth, and Derby County may be disappointed to come away with just a point after going in the lead twice. But I don't think any Derby County fan, including myself, is complaining about a point. We went to Portsmouth. Complete honesty, everyone wanted a draw. That's what we wanted. I think Portsmouth were happy with a draw as well, really. And when you think it's an Owen Moxon screamer, which put Derby in that 1 point zone. Obviously, I did a full match review of this game yesterday, so make sure you go and check that one out. But this game at Fratton Park on Sky Sports, it was what you want out of a top two. It put Man City versus Arsenal to shame, in my opinion. Two sides trying to win the game, trying to go at each other. Obviously, Derby, the more defensive of the two sides, playing on that counter-attack, which Paul Warne is really, really good at. And he's got this Derby side, playing really well. Got a bit of a box six in the midfield, which I'll explain to you in a minute. And obviously, Portsmouth just have some incredible players in their team. If we scroll down now and look at the lineups, you've got Shaughnessy and Raggett at the back. Now, obviously, they are hampered with injuries, but you've got Evans and Pack in midfield. I didn't quite think their midfield got things going really until Owen Moxon came on, but they ran out of a few ideas. Abu Kamara, yes, he scored the goal, but I think Louis Sibley, as a number 10 playing at left back, I think he did really well to shut him down and not give him much opportunities. And the goal didn't really come from anything Sibley did wrong. It was more the two centre-halves of Cashin and Nelson. Colby Bishop put in a really good performance, but just wasn't able to get a goal. If you look at the Derby side as well, Joe Ward picking up his first 2 goals in his Derby colours, which was massively impressive. Both goals were really well taken. Obviously, one massive deflection. Blackett Taylor had a really good game as well. Obviously, there's not much I have to say about Ebo Adams. He was absolutely brilliant. Collins and Mendes-Lang up front. You can obviously tell that Collins is just returning after some injuries. But I think he had a really good game. Mendes-Lang, I don't like him in this central position. Just doesn't seem to have the impact that he does when he's out wide. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get him back out wide at the current moment. We're awaiting some players back from injury. Obviously, the likes of Dwight Gale, Tom Barkes, and these players coming back. But to be fair, are they going to get in the side? You look at the performances we're putting in, and are we going to drop Joe Ward after he scored a double? Probably not. Are we going to drop Blackett Taylor after an assist? No. James Collins did all right. Mendes-Lang did well. So it's one of those where I can't really complain about the performance of any player. Now, if we just scroll down and look at the match momentum, when we get into the possession, you'll understand why this momentum is how it is. I don't necessarily think Portsmouth were outrageously the better side, but I felt Derby relinquished basically pitch position in order to give Portsmouth the ball, let them play it out, play it wide, do what they want with it. And we just sort of kept them in not great areas for them, so they couldn't really create any chances. Sort of ran out of ideas, in my opinion. Now, Derby did have spells in the game, and realistically, after going up twice, they might be disappointed to drop 2 points. But for me, as a Derby fan, I'm delighted with this result. Obviously, Bolton fans are happy with Derby dropping points as well. But for me, Bolton still have to play Portsmouth and they have to play Peterborough. They've not got an easy run in compared to Derby, who have Wickham, Cambridge, Leyton Orient and Carlisle. So very different run-ins for both sides. If we look at the possession though, neither side really created any brilliant chances. 0.84 XG to 0.75, 70% possession to 30% possession. And if you look at both teams, didn't really put many shots in really good areas, if that makes sense. Like, most of Derby's shots are outside the box. And obviously Joe Ward got that deflection and the goal early on. And obviously Owen Moxon scored that absolute screamer. Now, some people will put some shade on Joe Wildsmith, but I thought it was a really, really good strike from Moxon. And obviously I think the weather and the ball movement played an absolutely massive part. But I think both sides were happy with that point. Me personally, I'm happy with a point when you consider the league position. So that is the League One preview for obviously the Easter games on the Monday and Tuesday. We're going to have a League One preview for this weekend's coming games coming out tomorrow morning. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, like and share this video with all your friends, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.